All right, all right. Hey, it's episode number 35, and you're listening to Nobody Told Me.
36.
What?
Yes, I think it's 36. Pretty
Oh
sure.
my God,
I think we put up 35 today.
Okay, let's redo 35 now.
Same topic.
Oh my God, that is what kind of day it's been right there. That's exactly what we're talking about. I even wrote down 36. I even wrote it. No, I didn't. I wrote it down 35 on the title of this thing. So now I got to go back and figure that out. So which is it, 35 or 36?
It's 36. So
yeah, definitely 36. So
we'll have to look at the topic.
Okay, but we're going to be talking about finding a niche is critical. Now, think about that. Niche. How do you say it?
I say niche, but yeah, I'm Canadian. We say weird stuff all the time. So
project.
I swap between project and project, and I can't help myself. And Mazda and pasta and pasta. So anyway.
Okay, so I'll kind of start it out as, hey, this is Nobody Told Me with Mike Blaine, and we really fumbled the intro, right? This is that's why we do this live. That's why we do it, unedited, raw. Here it is. We're on wisdom, and we're going to be talking about niches today. And if you want to join us, if you got something special to talk about a niche or how it's critical or how maybe it didn't work for you, either way, you don't have to always agree with us. But hey, just raise your hand. We'll let you in here, and we'll get you on the air here on wisdom. And Blaine, what are you drinking today?
All right. So today, I was saying I'm emptying out my fridge because we're heading north fairly soon. And this is 71 I found, and it's a bottle. So this is like the first bottle in a while. It's from Parish, and it's called Sips, and it's a Pinot Noir, Grape, and black currant sour. And it's actually really quite delicious. So Parish Brewing Company in Broussard, Louisiana. LA is Louisiana, correct?
LA is Louisiana. That's right.
So Louisiana, Broussard, Louisiana. Actually, I've had other stuff from Parish. They're a really nice brewery. And this one is really delicious. So it's ended up being a really good pick, even though it was just one of the last few soldiers in the fridge there.
I'll tell you what, a buddy of ours just had a big crawfish boil, and he's even got the trough, right? So it comes out of the pot. They put it into the trough. There's all these different places you can pull from, and then in the table is a hole with waste. So if you're eating crawfish, and you know what they say about crawfish, right? How to eat them? Have you ever heard that?
I've had them before, but I don't remember. Do you pull the head off or something and suck?
Yeah, it's pinch a little tail, suck a little head. That's what.
Okay.
That's Louisiana. I'm only, I'm in Texas, but we got good friends that live in Covington, Louisiana. So we always like to talk about that. Nice. I'm surprised there's not crawfish pieces in there with Pinot Noir and sour and all kinds of stuff they got going on with it.
So. Got everything in there already. So, but it's quite delicious. What have you got going today?
Well, I tell you what, I'm still staying in Texas. I've got a Dallas-based company. It's called the Texas Ale Project, and they're veteran-owned out of Dallas.
Nice.
Here's what it looks like. It's called Pantera Golden Ale. And so one of the things about this one, they've got another one. I couldn't find it in the can. It's called Fire Ant Funeral. Yeah. And if you've been in Texas, you know those fire ants can get you. So the Fire Ant Funeral. So I'm gonna try that out today.
Is that a collaboration with the band Pantera, or is it just coincidence?
I think it's coincidence. I'm sure there's a story behind it, and I didn't look it up.
Oh, well, I'm just curious. You could tell we prep a lot for this show.
We did have a topic. So we're talking about niche, right? So, and what I mean by that is kind of sticking to your knitting, finding out what you're good at and really exploiting it. Now, when I was starting out, right, because you got to remember, I started out in janitorial, and then I morphed into a niche of hotel staffing. Yeah. And the way I described it, right, the way I was describing it to my team, my management team at the time was, hey, listen, it's like we're banging against this big glass wall, right? We're just banging against it, and we're trying to find where the crack is. And that crack is your niche, right? It's like a sales scene, because once you start to open up a crack where your message works, your customers are getting exactly what you expect, or they expect, you exploit it, right? You just push as much through that crack as you can and get through. So for me, it happened to be hotels. And I found out pretty specifically right up front that it wasn't all hotels. I mean, I couldn't do motels and Motel 6s and things like that. It had to be full service, high-end hotel resort and resorts. So that needed a lot of people, needed, keep them there over multiple days, multiple hours. So that's kind of what ended up with me with my first niche.
Niche.
What about you? I mean, how would you describe it to folks?
Well, you hear that so often in business that you need to select that niche. You need to be the best at something in the world. Like that's be the best at something, focus on it, nail that market down. And you may stay right in that market, or you may start to expand and add other offerings that are related. Right. And I know when I started my creative agency, I wasn't good at that, because it was a little bit of, it's a typical thing for a lot of business people. It's kind of the anything for a buck. You think that if you offer a ton of services and you've seen them online, you see LinkedIn and everything, here's what I do. And there's a list of 40 things. And it's like, you're going to have to want to buy one of them. From the outside looking in, what it looks like is you're not good at anything, right? Rather than having one thing, I want to see that. I want to see one thing go, man, that person is the expert on that one thing, or that business is the best at doing that. That's why I'm going to them. It's hard to get over that when you're starting a business, because a lot of times you're like, well, I don't know where to go. And as we started to get focused, because we started to get really good at some things, we started to focus more and more, then the work just starts coming. And it's like you said, it's like you push and you get those repeat customers and you get the referrals and you have this reputation and you're valued. So start with a niche. Don't take a couple of years to get there, because it'll really help you get started.
Yeah, but when you say start with a niche, I mean, that's hard to do, right? I mean, it's hard because, you can't just say, I'm going to only service car washes, right?
Yeah.
or whatever your business is going to be. For instance, right? I mean, I had a friend that got in the insurance business. And you know how tough the insurance business is? I mean, like, it's even hard to have friends when you have friends in the insurance business, because they're always talking about their insurance business.
Yeah.
But he did something really interesting, because he struggled. He's like, he did here's my top 200 people I know. And if I just keep telling them I'm in insurance, they'll tell other people who need insurance, right? It's kind of, that's how real estate works. That's how kind of car dealers work. You just kind of let your sphere of influence know that's what you do, but you're never really attacking a problem. You're just saying, I'm here, I'm available.
Yeah.
So what this person did was started to saying, I'm the best in the world at restaurant insurance, right?
Yeah.
And he knew the coverages, he knew, the liabilities, he knew, how much coverage you would need for your freezer in case of a power outage and you lost all your meat or anything like that. He just focused in. That's what he did. He became that expert, and he can answer any questions. But more importantly, he started marketing two things. Here's my promise to you. And, here's why you should buy it from me. My promise to you is I sell insurance for restaurants. Why you should buy it from me is I'm the best in the world at it, and I know what coverages you need and which ones you don't. So when you need restaurant insurance, you call me. And it changed everything, right?
Yep. Yep.
And you know what happened next is that other businesses started to call him, even though he wasn't even asking for anything but restaurants. Yeah, he was getting people calling him, say, hey, listen, I know you do restaurants, but can you also do, dry cleaners? Yeah. And he just was expanding his business just because he told people two things. Here's what I do, my promise to you, and here's why you should buy it from me.
Yeah. And I think it's a really powerful message. And finding your niche, like it can be tough at the start. You may have to try a few things. You got to figure out, what am I really good at? What can we deliver? What market is willing to pay the money? But once you start getting some this is what I know, this is what I can do, triple down, go hard on that, because if it's a big enough market and there's enough dollars there, you can grow your business that way. And like your friend experienced, now other people start coming in and they're asking for these things. They're close, but they're asking for these other things. And now you can start to expand the business, but it's really hard to start. Just where do you go? Like if you said, well, I sell insurance to anybody. Okay, well, Who are you contacting? Who are you talking with? What events are you going to? What is the story you're telling them? It's just, you're not feeling like you're the best at anything, right?
Well, you know what's interesting about, having that niche. We're saying you're getting off the ground. You're starting to, get a little bit of a business. So before you even expand, what it allows you to do is step out of being a commodity. We're saying, like, I've been talking to accountants lately, and all of them are like going, I'm an accountant for contractors. I'm an accountant for dentist office. I'm an accountant for this. And the reason they got there is because accounting became a commodity, which is saying, I just want you to do my books.
Yeah.
And the cheapest person out there that can do it, that's the one I'm going with. But when you've got that one specialty and you got that one thing that you solve very quickly for someone, man, you're going to get everyone knocking on your door.
Yeah.
So much so that the last one I talked to today is doing travel tourism. That's the only client she's taking on right now, is travel tourism, which is like whitewater rafting companies and those type of things.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
I think it's a really terrific tactic that because you build that reputation, and people in an industry tend to talk with other people in the industry. And when they say, yeah, this guy knows his stuff, right? Or she's the absolute best at this. Like, accountants are a great example. If you find that market and you say, I'm the best at construction, I know what construction, because now construction companies are going, oh, so they know the challenges we face. They know the cash flow problems we have. They know. They're going to trust you more than we just do business, generic, whatever, right?
Yeah. So, hey, if you're on Wisdom, I noticed we got some people coming in and out. So if you're on Wisdom, you want to talk about niches, let us know. We always love it. So we've had almost every time we've asked, we've had people jump on here, and it's been super interesting to do that. And if you don't know anything about Mike and Blaine, go to mikeandblaine.com. I mean, you can read more about us. Blaine, by the way, is also, I need to mention this, the sponsor for Nobody Told Me Right Now. His company is Dry Run, and they are the best in the world at mid-size market cash flow forecasting. So if you're out there and you're a mid-size company and you're looking at ways to solve cash flow forecasting, contact Dry Run at dryrun.com. Blaine, how'd I do?
That was terrific. Thanks, Mike. I totally forgot. I can't even remember that, but I do appreciate that. And definitely come check us out if you're looking to build some financial models, manage your cash flow. We're the ones to talk with. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. So we got somebody who wants to talk with us. So
all right.
We got Samantha. All right, Samantha. We're going to let you in here. So guest is joining in 3, 2, 1. Samantha, you're on with Mike and Blaine. Nobody told me. What nobody tell you?
Doing?
Good. How you doing?
Oh, if I was any better, I'd be illegal.
My dad used to say I'd be twins. If I was any better, I'd be twins.
So
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, I like what you have to say about finding a niche and that it's critical. I'm a musician. I've been a touring musician for a little over 20 years now. And my market is very much a niche market. It's down-tempo electronic and trip hop. And I knew when I started performing the genre that was going to be for me, but that I was probably never going to win any Grammys or anything. But it served me very, very well,
Yeah. All right. So tell me about that. So you probably had, the traditional education, and, I guess it starts in junior high and moves all the way through high school. And when did you kind of start gravitating towards a niche, towards something you liked?
Well, while I was in high school, I started listening to Massive Attack and Portishead and started producing music along those same lines, and it's like I said, it served me well ever since. It's a genre that I absolutely love and love to be a part of, and I couldn't have asked for anything better.
All right, so I'm going to be dumb. When she said, I don't know. I didn't recognize any of those.
You're a good company, though, because I guarantee most of the people listening right now have no idea what I'm talking about. So
got it.
Fine.
So Samantha, I can say I've heard of both, and I believe I've listened to both a little bit, but I'm not that clued in, but it sounds super cool. But you know what? It's interesting because that's an area that you brought up here, that musicians, artists, creative industry so often are really good at their niche, because they start with something that they're really passionate about. But business owners can learn a lot from that. Like an artist, really, to be able to grow their, like even a visual artist or a musician, they have to grow that reputation of, this is what I'm known for. This is what I'm good at. And the challenge is it's hard to move away from that, right?
I'm known for. I'm known for being the Taylor Swift of the trip hop industry, because I tend to write songs about my breakups.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. So you're also a writer then? You're also a writer, not just yeah.
Songwriter, yes.
Wow. Okay. So hey, let's plug you real quick. Where can people find your stuff?
This sounds so funny, but if you touch my face here on the Wisdom app, there's a link to my latest album, the Bandcamp page. And I believe in giving music away for free. Like once I release it into the ether, it's no longer mine, you know? So if you want to donate some money for the album, you can, but it's definitely not necessary. You're welcome to just download it for free and enjoy it.
All right, Samantha Ryan, go check it out. I'm definitely going to listen to it now because I feel like I know you, right? I mean, I'm like going, oh.
I appreciate that.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna tell people. I say I know the Taylor Swift of trip hop.
Yeah, exactly. I just wrote that down because I got to remember, Samantha, so I can find you after and check this out. This sounds super cool.
Yeah, right on. So, all right. So let's talk about it this way then. If you're giving away for free, I mean, do you use music to make money? Is it a business? Are you? Yeah.
It is it's my full-time job, but I make most of my money touring. So I don't mind. It's the idea that you could get rich off a tiny piece of plastic went by the wayside, you know, decades ago. So I would rather people be able to hear my music and then go hear me when I'm on tour than not be able to afford my music and decide that everyone had to pay a certain price just to get to hear it. I don't agree with that. I don't like that idea. And I think that's a really bad marketing strategy.
Got it. Okay. So so how does somebody, I guess you're an independent contractor then, or
Yes,
okay.
Yes. And I should also mention passive income. I get royalties twice a year for music of mine that have been used on commercials and television shows and things of that nature.
I got it.
Nice.
So let me ask you a different question. This is back from when I ran restaurants and bars. Do you belong to one of those? And I've never talked to a musician about this, but like ASCAP or what is it, BMG or CSAC?
Yes, I do belong to BMG.
Yeah, BMG. Okay, so and Blaine, what this is, these are licensing groups that kind of that cover the whole market, right? And I think the artists, I don't know, but I think the artists, you know, sign on with one or some of these groups, so their songs are actually covered through royalties through like the dues and subscriptions of restaurants that you know, subscribe to that service
to play our music. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was really, it was a hard lesson for me to learn right up front. It's like, what do you mean I got to pay you to play the jukebox? I'm already paying the jukebox.
Right. It's kind of a cash grab in my opinion. And it's a marketing practice that I believe is going to fall by the wayside any moment, because with the internet and with things like SoundCloud and YouTube, I mean, you don't really need a label. You don't need a marketing strategy. Well, you need a marketing strategy, but you don't need someone to market your own music when you can do it yourself for free, basically.
Yeah, right on. So, all right. So, Blaine, are you a musician? Have you ever done anything? You play guitar?
Yeah, I play guitar. Not often anymore. But I played a lot when I was younger. I've been in a lot of garage bands, corner of the street bands, you know, that sort of thing. We did the odd tiny gig. Actually, I should say we did one gig. Actually, a friend of mine that was an ADAC benefit. So we actually did a reasonable size one time. But 1,000 miles away from anything that would be, you know, considered professional. So
it is the one skill. Playing a musical instrument of any type is one that I wish I'd done. I mean, I've got a guitar sitting over. I still can. Yeah. So I got a guitar sitting in here and it taunts me. It like says, I dare you to pick me up.
Yeah. I just moved mine just yesterday, but it was sitting right there. So it's a fun skill though.
do electronic music.
Okay, so what is it? Electronic music? I mean, what do you use? Just I think I'm a kid of the '80s, so.
I use Ableton for the most part, and then of course, we have our Rode NT1 microphone and vocal booth, whole 9 yards. And I'm looking at investing in looping vocal floor pedals so that I can do some interesting things with my voice while I'm on stage. And that's something I've wanted to invest in for a while now, but I don't know when that's going to happen.
Got it. So, all right. So you have a very interesting niche. You've got something that I think, I don't know, is it on the rise, or how would you classify it? Is it?
It kind of had its heyday, but it's growing in popularity again. One of my favorite artists, Blockhead, just released an album with Aesop Rock not too long ago, and that's really exciting because he was one of the founders of trip hop.
Oh yeah, and plus he just got arrested.
Blockhead?
No, Aesop, wasn't it Aesop?
Not
Rocky?
Aesop Rocky, Aesop Rock.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Well, that was embarrassing.
No, that's good.
Yeah. So anyway, hey, Samantha, it was nice talking to you. Nice.
It was great talking to you guys too. I'm looking forward to hearing what else y'all have to say about niche markets.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're down to 1 minute with you, and I don't want you to be cut off. One more plug for your stuff?
Well, if I'm going to plug anything, it would be that tomorrow night on my platform, I host open mic night, karaoke night. So you can come by, and the point is you get 15 minutes of a captivated audience, and you can sing, you can read a poem, you can read a story that you wrote. You can even freestyle if you want. We just have a really, really great time. And I look forward to it every single week. We get started about 8 o'clock Central Time.
All right, Samantha, thank you now. Hey,
thank you so much, guys. Y'all stay blessed.
All right,
thanks,
take care. How cool is that? Open mic night. That's kind of what this was just now. It was kind of like open mic night. So, but I love Wisdom just for that. I mean, we could have never scoured the country and found Samantha to come on a show.
No.
Couldn't have done it, right?
And super cool. And it was such a great example, like I said, of niches like follow artists. They're so good at they have to be good at it, but they do it naturally, right? And I think a lot of times business people, they probably are really good at something, and it would come natural to them, but it's easy to panic and go, no, I'm going to try and offer everything because I need to make money. And be the best at something. You can do a lot better.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about developing the niche, right? Because I mean, you might have an idea, you might have a passion. Like let's just say right now, I'm working with Truly Financial, and I'm working with accountants, but I can't just say accountants, right? Because there's so many different ones. And my step one, even though I want to work with accountants, my step one is I have to define a persona for accountants. And I've come down to kind of 2, right? Because I could have 20, like everybody from a CPA that went to Harvard and works for KPMG, all the way down to, the one person bookkeeper that just kind of, does it part-time.
Yeah.
But I've kind of boiled it down to 2. And the reason why that's so important to narrow down who that is. And Samantha, if you're listening, that's what you got to do is I think who listens to this type of music and what do they look like? Because our message to them when we're promoting it has to be speaking to them, right? Why? So here's the 2. Blaine, tell me, I mean, you talk to accountants as well. Tell me if you agree. First one, I call him like Jack, right? Jack is a CPA. He works for kind of a mid-sized shop in my case, which is kind of between 15 and 30 employees. What he does is he has teams. He uses technology, wants to move his firm into more and more technology. He goes to higher end type functions like AICPA, Engage, but he doesn't manage the project, right? He has somebody on his team that actually implements or executes, right? So it's kind of a 2-sided sell. You got to get Jack involved to give the go ahead, but then you got to have the champion or the implementer involved in the firm.
Yeah.
And then the second one, we'll just say it's Jack and Jane. Jane is that individual. She might have 1 to 5 kind of employees. They kind of work from home or maybe in a small office. They do mainly bookkeeping tasks. Every once in a while, they might have one professional on there that can handle tax situations, but they're more interested in the social aspect of the accounting community and less interested in the financial and the professionally run corporation aspect. Meaning they like their society, or that society. They like Facebook communities, and they talk kind of more informally. So I message to both of those a little differently. So I mean, how do you see that? How do you see that? That industry?
Yeah. We do exactly the same thing, but it's actually a little bit different groups. And that took us a while to figure out, because we started to get into the niche of like CPAs. And then fairly soon we found, okay, we're actually just a bit off the mark. So now today we know it's like, okay, we're looking for on the CPA side, 10 plus staff, so more of that mid-sized accounting firm. They're offering advisory services to businesses with over $1 million annual revenue. They're like, they've adopted the cloud. Like, we have this really detailed persona as well for the CPA side. And then we also sort of tapped into another one with the fractional CFOs. So the CFOs that are oftentimes they were full-time CFOs for businesses, and they've left, and they now are serving multiple companies on a sort of virtual basis. Great market for us. But again, we was like, they're experienced, they got this many clients, they're $1 million+ revenue clients, they're So we have these little niches that we go after, and it really, really helps. And from there, we start to see these other little channels appear. We're like, okay, we can tackle that channel. And as we tackle it, one of the most important things is we have to learn enough about that channel to like value-added resellers. If they're selling NetSuite, they're selling Dynamics, they're selling Sage Intacct. Okay, it's not just that, but who can we help the most out of that channel? And again, we're starting to get more niche in those channels, because then we know who to talk to and what the messages are, because we know they're going to want to talk with us. And very, very important. Even, like you said, it's not just CPAs or accounting firms. It's like, no, it's very specific. Who is really going to value what you have?
Well, and that's why I name them, right? Because even in marketing meetings, I'm like, well, Jack would do this, or Jane would do that, right? So it helps us when we're putting together, that Facebook ad campaign, or, it doesn't matter, just a visual get their attention. You got to almost step inside that person's brain and live that life with them, right? So, I mean, that's kind of what we're talking about there. It's interesting that you said sometimes other little seams will open up. Now, it's a caution for me, because then I got to figure out, can I really solve the problem? And over at Cashflow Tool, we kind of had that, where I might get 80% of the way there. And I'm telling you, every time I was 80% of the way there, it was a 20% that caused a cancellation.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. Because it was the most important thing. Right. And so, I mean, we couldn't change the product for everybody.
No.
But here's what's happening with consumers right now, or B2B, or whatever it is. They're getting smart, right? They know you're giving them a workaround. They know that it just doesn't work exactly right. And they're getting less and less, open, less and less open to being able to actually do the workaround. They want it to work right the first time. So your message got to be in that 90 to 95%, to answering their problems.
Well, and it's interesting, because what you're saying, like, that's what we found is when we were a little bit off, it just wasn't quite the right fit. The way we found these personas that work really well for us, and this what we would sort of call a different channel. The reason it works is because fundamentally, at the end point where they're actually putting into play, where they're actually using the product, they're solving the same problem, and they're doing it the same way. And they have the like, so once we went, okay, they're a little bit different role, but they're doing the exact same thing. Like, whether it's a CPA advising their clients, they're literally doing fractional CFO work, or it's fractional CFO. You get down to that and you're like, that's exactly the same place. And with some of the other channels, it's the same thing, except they're internal CFO. So once we sort of found that, then it's sort of the opposite. It's like, we know what we offer, how we're different, how we can offer all these benefits. And they come from a little bit different place, but they have the exact same need. And that's the tricky part to identify.
Now, do you then change the message, like, the spin up, like on, hey, this is how we get you started, or, how to entice them into the product to begin with? Is it a different pitch?
It is a little bit different because how they get in, the different stakeholders, if it's a big accounting firm with 50 staff, they have a different set of stakeholders and some different ways that they want to implement versus maybe a single fractional CFO or something like that. So that's where the messaging changes, some of the implementation, some of the training, some of that changes, but fundamentally what we offer solves the same problem in the end.
Yeah, very cool. All right, so I'm going to push back. Hey, and if anybody wants to jump in on wisdom, let me know. We got some more time here today. So if anybody wants to jump in, hey, just raise your hand. We'll get you in here. But I'm going to push back on something you said where you have to start with a niche. You have to start with a niche. I don't know if that's true, right?
It's a bit of a low. Yeah, I get what you're saying. A little bit loaded, but I still believe that it's a good place to start, because when you're so small and you're starting, like honestly, you probably have to try a bunch of things to test, to find out where do I fit in the world. But the split second you find that, you have to go after it, because boy, early on you can spread yourself too thin and you don't get known for anything. Like you I always say it's like the Porsche, like the 911 is so iconic. It's been the same thing for a bajillion years, and people recognize it and they know it and they're known for it. And it's like, man, almost every other car brand on the planet probably envies that, because they're just known for something. And it's not like it's all watered down and all over the place.
Yeah. So that's funny. I mean, it's like my nickname, right? Cashflow Mike. I didn't go out and become Cashflow Mike. I was at a bankers training institute, right? Just teaching bankers on small business banking, a way to talk to small business owners.
Yeah.
And I was absolutely harping on cash flow, not profit, right? The same thing you and I always talk about, cash flow, not profit. And what's interesting, that bankers feel the same way, right? They're cash flow. That's all they think about.
Yeah.
And there was one class that, started calling me Cashflow Mike, and I put it out there on social media saying, well, let's just start calling me Cashflow Mike. They called me that for the whole week that I was in this institute. And it caught on. I didn't want to become known for that. That's just what happened. But here's something interesting, right? Because when you look at like life cycles of companies, you hope, and I'll explain them, right? The 4 life cycles, there's like startup, a growth, a mature company, and declining company. And I renamed them for my course, and I call them Wonder, Blunder, Thunder, and Under, right? Because it's too hard to say the other stuff. Yeah. Plus, it's fun to say, right? I mean, it rhymes.
It rhymes. That's good, man.
But
it's like
in the
freestyling.
That's right. So in the wonder phase, that's that guy that leaves corporate America and he's just trying to figure out. He's got a great idea. He doesn't really know his market just yet, but he's trying to figure out. But there's a point in time, and we've talked about the difference between pushing your message to the market and the market pulling it from you.
Yes.
Right.
Niches pull. That's I think exactly what you have to.
Yeah. Exactly right. Niches a pull from you. But there's another thing. When we talked about the other sales seams that start to open up, there's 2 things that kill a company in that blunder phase. And that's why I named it the blunder phase. One is that you can grow broke. You can actually be so successful that you outrun your operation. Yeah. Right. And we talked about the perfect push-up where you had too many orders, but not enough cash to make the orders happen.
Yeah.
Then you got the other side of it. And I call this a sideshow venture. Right. And I go back to my grandmother, and I think I started off the show by saying this. She used to say, hey, stick to your knitting. And what she was telling me to do is mind my business. But it works the same now that I'm an adult. Like, hey, if I'm good at this, don't let somebody drag you right or left of that and spread your resources too thin. Yeah. And it happened to me. I'm going to let you comment, but I've got a story about how I lost $200,000 by doing just that. So what do you think so far?
No, I can relate to that. And it's, I get exactly what you're saying, because even when we started Dry Run, we probably niched too soon. We thought we were a small business product, didn't talk to anybody else. And it took them to find us and start pulling before we went, oh, we're a little off track. So boy, it's a balancing act, because you just can't, it can't be like throw it at the spaghetti at the wall and hope it sticks. Like you have to be able to go like some sort of strategy to let's target this. This makes sense. Let's talk until you find that seam that you can go after.
Yeah. All right. So you want to know how I lost 200,000?
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. That one hurts. I've done a few big boo-boos too, but that one hurts.
It hurts. And we hurt a friendship over the deal too. So, all right. So here's what I found out, right? When you start to have some success, and at the time, I had a hotel staffing company. I had 27 offices in 9 states. I had 3 restaurants and 9 multifamily housing units, right? And believe it or not, you're like going, how did you do all that at once? Well, it was an exercise in scheduling. I would take the housekeepers out of the hotel and they would clean the apartments. I had a 2-man repair crew for the apartments that would also fix the restaurant. And all the restaurants and the people that worked in the hotels could all work in the restaurant, and all the POS systems and all that was the same. So mine was a scheduling exercises. But what was cool is that when I didn't have enough hours in the restaurant for people or the hotel for people, I could put them in the restaurant and vice versa.
Yeah.
Right. So you could keep people employed and keep them working. You just say, hey, you don't go to the Marriott, you go to, Bottoms of the Brew House. So,
yeah.
So I had that going. But here's what happens. People start to see that. They see I'm playing golf a couple times a week, and they come to you with ideas. Hey, if you're good at this, you should try that.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got an idea for you. We should partner on this. Well, a buddy of mine had developed Gatorade in a pill, right? It's pretty much what it is. It's like 23 different types of ingredients that was designed to replenish your body without having to drink all that Gatorade and all the sugars and stuff with it, right? You just drink it with water, and we called it Recover, or he called it Recover. Hey, I wasn't part of it yet. He called it Recover, and accidentally we found out that it worked for late night recovery.
Oh, nice.
So you take it before you go to bed, and you wake up fresh the next day, right?
Yep.
Especially when you own a bar. We call it late night recovery. Yeah. And so what I started to do was just giving it away. I'd bought a box from him, and I started giving it away at the bars, and people loved it. So we started charging for it. It was like $1. Like, hey, at the end of the night, here's your last drink and a Recover. So we started doing that, and people liked it. And he says, hey, this is something we should do. And he was in like 5 or 10 different little convenience stores around St. Louis at the time. And I said, man, I don't want to hawk pills. I don't want to go around and sell pills door to door. I said, if we can get a large contract, I'll get in. Well, I played golf with a vice president of Walgreens and asked him about what's the process? How do you get in? And he was able to navigate me through so I could get a contract with 119 Walgreens. So I invested in the company.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, here's the thing about doing business with Walgreens. And first of all, you have to have a 12x turnover on your product, which means they want to buy a new box every month, right? Yeah. Whatever it is, because that's how they set up how much they make in gross profit on that sale, selling the whole box goes into their budget for the store, right? It's a cool thing. That's how they do each linear foot of retail space, inside the business. So we never got there, right? In 6 months, we went from 7x to 9x to like almost 10x, never got to 12. I was pushing everything towards Walgreens. I did TV commercials. I did radio spots. We went to every event and says, as seen in Walgreens, go to Walgreens and get it, and we were also in 500 other stores because we got a distributor when I got Walgreens. Well, at 6 month mark, we didn't hit the 12x. Guess what happened to your Walgreens contract?
Ouch.
Yeah, you lose Walgreens. So I lose 119 stores all at once. The distributor goes, well, if you don't have Walgreens, this really isn't worth it for us. You lose a distributor, and now I'm sitting with a half a warehouse full of goods.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And check this out, because I was spending so much time trying to sell these pills, you know what happened to my hotel staffing company and my restaurants? Wah, wah, wah.
Oh,
right?
no.
They started to decline. So I'm sitting there trying to build a new business that doesn't match. Everything I had fit. It was in my niche. It was just personnel. It was just, all I did was just work people doing jobs, right? Keeping people busy.
Yeah.
When I went into retail and tried to add it to that mix, it blew up everything. It caused a huge, tremendous mess. And it ended up costing me $200,000. Now, I own the recipe to recover. So anybody out there wants to get in the herbal supplement business, for a mere $200,000, you could be in. But it's an important lesson for me. But about the niche, it was way outside. That's why I called it a sideshow venture. It's not any part of what my main business is. I mean, have you ever done anything like that?
Yeah, dry run. I had an agency before. I learned all about cash flow, the need for financial forecasting, sales forecasting, analysis, and all this kind of stuff. We had systems in place to do that, but a crappy process, really, right? We had started to do some stuff right after the iPhone came out. We started to do some mobile apps, had a little bit of traction there, had a little bit of success there. Sort of a side note, we would start to get phone calls of people that, I got an idea, I'll sell it to you for $1 million. Okay.
Yeah.
You moron, get out of here. Like, your stupid idea, 800,000 other people had your stupid idea, and the idea is worthless. So it was but I thought I knew more than I did when I started Dry Run, because we had done some product, we'd done all this digital, we had done some software, we'd done all this stuff. But it's really different, because all of a sudden I'm getting into SaaS, and and it's like, oh, this is, so it's been quite a learning experience. But this was my once I started down the path in Dry Run and got a little bit of traction, it's like, well, this is it. This is a full-time gig. So I had to learn everything. Where I had spent a decade learning how to run an agency, like how to build and run an agency, and I shifted gears. So I wouldn't go back, but it's a bigger challenge than you ever think. Everything always looks easier from the outside than when you're actually in it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So what have you learned about that? What did you learn today? Anything? Have you learned anything?
Well, it just reinforces how important it is to have a niche. And it may not be something you like early on. You got to find that niche. That's the important part. Find it. But in order to find it, you probably have to test all over the place. Make sure but as soon as you find it, quadruple down on it and go. Trying to be everything for everybody you're a recipe for failure.
Yeah. See, I still think that regardless of where you want to go, okay, I'll agree with passion first or interest first, which is, I just have an interest in working with this type of people.
Yeah.
But then I think once you have a broad window, you have to narrow it down to personas. You've got to create, who is that, right?
Yeah.
And you got to create kind of, I'll say a stereotype. I don't know if that's good or bad anymore. I don't think you can say that word. Maybe that's a bad word too. But you have to create a persona that I'm talking to and through that person.
Yeah.
So I'm talking to and through them. So,
well, it's just as important, that persona. If you find out it's the wrong one, it's just as valuable. That persona is not our customer. We've tried it. So I think even while you're trying to find that niche, even later on, it helps you to go, we tried that path. We tried that persona. That isn't right. It's actually the one over here. So I think it's really valuable to do those right out of the gate, test them all, and know until you find that success.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's interesting. You say no is always an option. Failure is always an option.
Yeah.
Right. It just is. It gives you more information about what to do next. Right. So, I mean, I always look for, I don't like things like, I don't know, or maybe later. Right.
Yeah.
Those are too vague for me. I like yes, no, or I learn a lesson and move on, something like that. It has to be more concrete. So I like it when you say that. Hey, do you know we got a website?
Got a website. You can buy some beer. You can buy some merch. You can see the beer that we've had.
Yeah, so it's mikeandblaine.com. We've got videos. You can see our YouTube videos on there. We've got every episode of the podcast. And before we close, if anybody wants to jump in here, Antonio, Cecilia, Jay, Garnett, Thompson, GT, anybody wants to jump in here, jump in and let us know what you think about niches. If not, go to mikeandblaine.com, check out our site, learn a little bit about us. Blaine Birch is the author of Pandemic Cash Flow. You can get that on Amazon. And I have a couple books out there. And one is called Don't Be a Dumb Business Owner. And the other one is called The 7-Minute Conversation. And before we go, guess what? Somebody wants to talk to us. Oh, now they don't. I missed it. I was too late. Somebody said, yeah, so I was too late. So I got really excited because that's my favorite part, right? When people jump in here. So
well, hey, join us next week. We'll have another topic, something you can jump in on. Yeah, one more plug for Dry Run. You can do one more plug for Dry Run.
Go ahead.
You need some help with your financial modeling, cash flow, come check us out at Dry Run.
Got it. All right. So, hey, be careful. If you don't know, Blaine splits his time between Arizona and his hometown of Edmonton, Canada. So he is driving this weekend back to Canada. So when we hear from you next, you're going to be having a Canadian accent pretty thick.
It'll be thick. It'll be back, and my whole background will be different. It'll be the northern background for my office. So, yeah.
That's right. You got the southern background now, and then you got the northern background coming. So, Blaine, good to see you again, bud. And we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, man. It's been fun.